All right. I am doing a live stream both on Facebook in the Know Oneself group and also here on YouTube. All right. Oh, I am doing a live stream both on Facebook in the Know Oneself group and also here on there we go. Okay. Wow. I interviewed Andrew Barron the other day, and what I wanted to do was create an interview with myself. So this channel, my YouTube channel, it still doesn't have a name. I'm working on a name. I'm open to potential ideas. It's got to be something humorous and also true. I was thinking it's funny because it's true. I was also thinking about channeling consciousness with Christopher Kent. Zlodka thinks it's a little corny, but I like it. Okay, so today, what I want to talk about is the idea, can something come from nothing? And although part of this conversation might sound very intellectual, it's really an open sort of meditative investigation, because I don't know the answer to a lot of these questions. And anytime I make an assumption, I want to question that assumption. This began about 3 days ago when I listened to a podcast, and anything I mention, any resources I mention, I'm going to go back and watch. And in the show notes to the YouTube channel, all the links will be found there. I was watching a interview between Bernardo Kastrup and Kurt. I don't know how to say Kurt's last name. And they were talking about this idea, can something come out of nothing? And then I had a really wonderful conversation with Zlodka about it 2 nights ago, and I just haven't been able to let it go. I've just been exploring this inquiry, and so I wanted to explore it with you as well in a very, in as much of an experiential way that I possibly can. And I want to begin with a quote from William Richards, and he was one of the researchers who worked with psilocybin for decades. And he distilled down everything, the findings of his research, just like a Zen master, in this one sentence. And this came out of the book, The Immortality Key, this quote. William says, "Once you've plunged into the ocean, does it really matter whether or not you believe in water?" And I'm beginning here because whatever is. Maybe. And that's exactly what we're going to be exploring. But my belief or my wanting to know doesn't really matter, because even my wanting to know and my belief in the way things are is in and of itself, part of the way things are. That belief in and of itself, its very existence is part of the way things are. I then watched a Muji video that popped up on my YouTube channel, probably because it knows that the algorithm knows what I'm looking for. And the YouTube video with Muji was something of this nature: can something arise out of nothing? And I started to question. This is the question that I'm contemplating. Am I? There's a statement. This statement, I am, is very popular in the world, but specifically in the world of consciousness and spirituality. I am. And if I want to question that belief, the question is, am I? How do I know I am? How do I know that I am anything? How do I know that I am not nothing? I might just be nothing. This might be nothing, just appearing as something. I used to have a list of 3 things that I know for certain. And on that list were, number 1 was I am. Number 2 was I don't know. And number 3 is I'm not even sure about the first 2. And why would we explore this? Why would you explore this? Why would you watch this? Why would you engage in this investigation with me? Well, I don't know, to be frank, other than you having a deep interest in finding out who you are or what you are. And I don't know that we'll find an answer to that in this podcast, and that's okay. So I have notes that I'll be reading off of. So if you see me looking back and forth, it's because there's 2 screens here, and I'm interviewing a special guest today, which is me. So my list of the 3 things that I know, I distilled it down to really only one thing, which is there appears to be happening. I just distilled it down further. It used to be there appears to be something happening, but I don't even know that. They're just whatever this is right now simply is, even if it is nothing. Do you see what I mean? It can sound like a complicated statement, but it's actually quite simple. There appears to be this, whatever this is. And what I mean by this, I mean this experience right now. Whatever this is, it appears to be. And to be frank, Zlatka, she really got me thinking, because she said, I know that something can come out of nothing. I do have conclusions at the end that we'll explore in relationship to that. But that's the first question, is how do I even know that I am something? Or how do I even know that I'm somebody? And if you have an answer to that, I would love to know in the comments. How do you know that? How do I even know that I am something or somebody? I don't actually know that. And that's why, in a sense, we don't even really need to go further. However, I will go further in sharing these notes with you, because there might be a synergy created where we discover something. I don't really know that. This could be nothing appearing as something. This could be nobody is appearing as somebody, appearing as me. I could very well just be nothing and everything. I can very well just be nothing, and everything that I am saying right now is just nothingness somehow appearing as something writing, or in this case, something speaking. So what if this is all just nothingness? Let's explore that, right? That's the point. So what if? So what? Whatever this is what it is, even if it is nothing. And that's where it gets really complicated to even call it thisness or it. Because if it is really nothing, it appears that I'm able to call it something because I have a mind. So why do I wish to know if I am something or nothing? That's the question that I then ask myself. Why do I want to know? Why do any of us want to know what we are? The answer I came up with to that was because whatever this I is that I am, whether it's nothing or something or nobody or somebody, am a meaning-making machine of sorts. And I'm not calling myself a machine, but what I mean by that metaphor is I think it's very natural for all of us to want to make sense of who we are, of what we are, and that helps orient us in life. But whatever this is, there is just this thisness, this isness, whatever isness actually is. As I just said, it is not even an it. I'm just using a word to point to the nature of this moment being exactly as it is. Whatever it is what it is. Even if it is not even an object to be pointed to, even to say this is to say too much. There is not no I or you, but there also isn't definitely an I or you either. It's impossible. As far as I can tell, it's impossible to even claim I am. Well, it's possible to, because many people do, and I have in the way that I've been speaking here. But what I mean by it's impossible to declaim it definitively, positively, saying I am or I am not. It's impossible to say I am, or it is all, and it is also impossible to say I am not. And by the way, I'm willing to sound totally crazy in this exploration, because I am in fact having a conversation with myself, but I know that there are a lot of other people that explore consciousness that get to a place in self-inquiry, and just people in general that aren't interested in consciousness as a concept, that are just exploring the nature of their being. So I wrote, what is, what is may not even be what is may turn out to be even, what is may turn out to be nothing appearing as something. Whatever is, and it may be beyond and inclusive of isness and nothingness. Even if it appears to be something other than what it is, that which it appears to be is also a part of it. Whatever is happening is simply happening. So even if it ends up being something other than what it appears to be, it will simply continue to just be whatever it is, regardless of what I believe about it, even if it is ever changing and transitory. Because some people you may hear say the one thing that's constant is that everything is changing. And even that, the label of changing or transitory, even that is a label. And that may too be too much. And when I say it might be too much, it might be making a claim about reality, about what's happening, about who we are, that we can't really actually verify. How could anyone know that it is ever changing and transitory? In order for someone to know that it's ever changing and transitory, they'd have to be here all the time, which, as far as we know, there comes a time where we're not here, at least not as a mind body. It simply is whatever it is, what it appears to, and even potentially what it is not. For it is all of it and none of it, just isness. So the Muji video that I'm referring to, which will be in the notes, he says no thing can be absolute. Everything is relative. And that's two words when he says no thing is absolute. He's not saying nothing is absolute. He's saying no thing can be absolute. So if I were to investigate that, can no thing be absolute? Because it's a negative, it's saying that no thing can be absolute. So the question is, can only no thing be absolute? Slavka, when we had this conversation together, she referenced Shunyamurti, and I'll ask her for the video that she's referring to. Shunyamurti is a spiritual teacher that we got to go and visit with in Costa Rica, and we've been listening to some of his talks every now and then. And this quote that I'm going to share from Shunyamurti, he draws a lot from Ramana Maharshi and also the some of the ancient Hindu or Vedic texts, Vedic, not Hindu per se. And he says, everything that is unreal is an appearance. And then this is my commentary on that. Although it turns out that even the unreal is the real, because everything that is unreal and is therefore an appearance is born out of and made from the material of which all appearances are made from and are risen from and within the real. So it would appear that the unborn or the unreal, I'm using unborn and unreal synonymous, it would appear that the unborn gives rise to the born. I'm actually using unborn and real synonymously. The real gives rise to the unreal as an illusory appearance. This is why the non-dual teaching is one living, not living teaching. Because if there really is a non-dual reality that we live in, then it's going to include the nothingness. And this is where I want to give a definition of what I mean when I'm saying nothingness. And I'll reference again what Bernardo was saying. I'm not talking about emptiness and nothingness being synonymous with consciousness or with awareness itself. Because if there's consciousness or awareness itself, then that isn't really actually nothingness. And quantum physicists will say that there really isn't nothingness, because when they study nothingness, or as close as there can possibly be to nothingness, there are just these little particles or waves that are immeasurable, that scientists don't have tools to measure that nothingness. Well, I'm also not talking about that. What I'm talking about is complete void of, if it's possible, and we'll get into that a little bit later, if it's possible, a void where there is nothing. And therefore there's no one or no thing to verify the nothingness. And so how could anything ever come out of nothing? And this is what I was sharing with Sladka about this, is that if something can come from nothing, that nothing would have to somehow have at least potential or something, or a being, even if we're going to get, a being is something, right? So it would have to be contained within that nothingness, but then it's not actually true, pure, empty nothingness. It would then be somethingness. I wrote down, as I was preparing the notes for this, the Buddhist, I think it's Mahayana Buddhist term suchness, or tathata, I don't know exactly how to say it. And this is a Buddhist term that means the true concrete essence or nature of things before ideas or words about them. And when I read that definition, I said, okay, well, I guess that's not really what I'm talking about either, because it says the concrete essence or nature of things. But I'm not talking about things. I'm talking about not necessarily a time before things, but if there's possible to be a space where there is no things. So it's even beyond suchness, if that's possible. And why is it that all of these things must come out of or be born from each other? All right, I'm working through this. I'm figuring this out, or attempting to investigate it. And so I have notes here that I want to share with you and see what your ideas might be about this as well. Why is it that all of these things must come from or be born from each other? Why does everything have to be interconnected? because there's an assumption, I think I'm making the assumption that this is all interconnected, that it somehow comes out of itself. Or can something be totally separate? Can something that is totally separate give rise to something else completely different, and then it not be within that or have come from that? I'm going to read that question again. Can something that is totally separate give rise to something else? Well, no, obviously. If it's coming from it, then it's not actually totally separate. It appears that the answer is obviously not. What if awareness really did somehow come from pure nothingness? What if nothingness really did somehow come from pure awareness? What if awareness really did come from pure nothingness? I think I already addressed how that, at least to me, it seems like that's impossible. Because if awareness came from nothingness, then there was something, there was awareness, there was consciousness in nothingness. I mean, I have literally been thinking about this and reflecting on it and journaling it and researching it and having experiences with myself about what is actually true about this. I signed up for a webinar with Rupert Spira, one of my friends. He said we're friends and teachers. And I'm going to ask him about this. I would love to see what his experience is with this. So what if awareness really did somehow come from pure nothingness? And then the reverse of that is, what if nothingness really did somehow come from pure awareness? So fundamentally, there might just be awareness. I don't know. There could just be awareness, but that wouldn't be nothing. That would be consciousness or awareness. Do we get to a point where there are no differences in any way? And I'll elaborate on that at the end, towards the end of the video. Do we get to a point where there are no differences in any way? And then I'm not interested in just having an intellectual conversation that we end up just like it's a word game. That's not what's being said here. Hey, babe, I just saw that you called. So do we get to a point where there are no differences in any way? We might get to that point, actually. We'll see. And if so, it appears that they cannot be separate. There wouldn't be separation. Separation does not seem to have any existential validity, for the same reason that pure void nothingness doesn't seem to have any existential validity. So back to the Shunyamurti quote. That which is real gives birth to the unreal, which means, I transcribed the conversation that Zlatka and I had, which means that it is all made, ironically, the unreal is made of the same stuff or no stuff, because I don't know that it's stuff. It's whatever the unreal is. And I'm saying I don't know because I am an appearance. I am appearing. And as an appearance, following what Shunyamurti is saying, is I am the appearance of myself, and these words and anything I'm saying is unreal. But here's how it's all ironically and probably paradoxically connected. It is like there's one giant bouncy ball of existence in which the observer, so whoever or whatever is observing this bouncy ball, is part of the ball too, and somehow says or claims that only half of it is an appearance and that the other half is real, or half of it is unreal and half of it is real, and that the unreal came from the half that's real. But the unreal turns out to be no different and came entirely from the real side of the bouncy ball. So it's all just one bouncy ball. And it is all just appearing to itself, which is, as Zlatka pointed out, I'll see you later, baby. I love you too. I'm live in a Facebook group too, as well as on the YouTube, and Zlatka just popped in for a moment. That's where Zlatka had I'm happy you're listening to this right now. That's where you had the realization, babe, where you said that this is the greatest union. Because the union that we're seeking is the union that we are because we truly do. And this actually is, I'm making an assumption here in saying this, but it feels true. It has resonance for me. The union that we're seeking is the union that we are, because we truly do have what we want, and we truly do want what we have. So it makes sense to desire that which you are, because then you want to be what you are, and it feels good to be wanting yourself in all of its forms and all of its appearances. Everything is actually union appearing as separate. So Zlatka and I came to the conclusion, sort of came to the conclusion, that only nothing comes out of nothing. If there is really nothing, then only nothing could come out of it. Nothing could appear as something, because maybe nothing could appear as something. Nothing could appear as something, and then ultimately it is just nothing appearing as something. So then I asked myself this, which I still don't have an answer to. How could truly nothing appear as something? How could nobody appear as somebody? The obvious answer would be, well, this, if this really is just all nothing. But there's something that feels like this isn't nothing. This feels real. This feels like something. I feel like somebody. So if true nothingness could exist, there could be nothing and no being there to verify that there is this nothingness. So in that sense, this can't actually be nothingness right now. Or could it be? Or could it be? And I'm saying in that sense, it appears that I'm here verifying it. But what if I'm not? That's why I began with the claim. There's the claim I am, but how do we know? We don't. And that's why I asked, am I? There's just whatever this experience is. If this is just nothing and nothing is happening, then even now, no one is verifying this. I know I'm well aware of the fact that I'm contradicting myself left and right, because I'm just exploring this. If this is just nothing and nothing is happening, then even now, no one is verifying this, and it's happening now. And it's just an appearance. Somehow, I don't know how, nothing is appearing as something, or nobody is appearing as somebody. And at this point in the conversation, Zlatka, I asked her this question about how could nothing appear as something? And she couldn't answer it because, and babe, if you're watching this, if you watch the replay, I'm making an assumption here. I think that you couldn't answer it because you knew, she's like, I can't, anything I say isn't going to be it, because she knew that by saying something, it would then be something, it would be a concept. And I'm, in a way, it feels like I'm trying to talk about that which cannot be spoken about, but that, I guess I find it entertaining. Everything can come from nothing only if everything and nothing are actually the same thing. How about that for a claim? Everything can come from nothing only if everything and nothing are actually the same thing. So in the same way, I could say nothing can come from everything only if nothing and everything are actually the same thing. So here are the conclusions. I didn't think I'd get here this quickly, but that's okay. This would be a shorter podcast. Drum roll, please. It is impossible to say with any amount of certainty that something comes from nothing, or that something does not come from nothing. So I can't say that something comes from nothing, and I also can't say that that's not true either. And if anyone can say that, I would love to talk to you and engage in this dialogue. And when I talked to Zlatka about this, I was so clear in saying that it's impossible. And I got to the point here, and as I thought through this, I'm like, wow, yeah, I can't even say that I am. So how can I make a claim saying that it's impossible for something to come from nothing? I don't know, because I too am just an appearance or a somebody or a something in what could potentially just be a bunch of nothingness. Something comes out of something, but that something, whatever it is, even if it is nothingness, must have a thingness element to it for it to transform or do anything. Nothing can't give or do anything as a verb, because for that to occur, it must be something. I want to pick apart that paragraph a little bit. So we were talking about how something can come from nothing, but if it really is nothing, how could there be any doing? How could there be anything, anyone, any being doing something, turning it into something? And I keep saying whatever it is, or the thisness, because I don't even know that whatever this is. I don't even know that whatever this is. I don't know. This could just be nothing appearing as something. So I can't even say that whatever this is this, like an object. And I mean that like me being the subject and viewing the object. So we also came to the conclusion that something comes out of something and that nothing comes out of nothing. Nothing gives birth only to nothing, because nothing can't give birth to. That would be like saying there's a mother, but she's nothing. So how can the mother give birth to anything? How can, there has to be potential, or I kept saying that to Zlodka. I kept saying there has to be potential or desire. She kept saying has to. I kept saying, yeah, I guess, I don't know. I don't know. So this is all nothing and this is all something. And I'm still really pondering the question, how can there be an appearance of anything? I'm going to paraphrase Muji as we come to an end to the podcast video here. He says this is just a play and we appear to be characters in it. God's play, God's mind. None of the beings can exist without the source. Whatever this is. So I'll end where I began. I'll link all of the links in the description so you can explore those for yourself too, but I've synthesized most of them. I'll end where I began, where I was meditating and this Muji video this meditation was playing, not the same one that I just referred to. And I said to myself, am I? And when I'm honestly assessing that, I don't know. It appears I am. And when I talked to Andrew in the previous podcast, it will be posted in the next 48 hours, he made the statement. He said, we can claim I am, but it's a claim and it's still an idea. And we can claim it. We can claim I am and say, I am whatever I am. That feels a little bit more true to me. If I say, I am whatever I am, and then I question, am I? Because the implications of that is, what if? It's a what if that could potentially be what is. What if we're not? So many problems come from I am. What if we're not? What if this is all just nothingness appearing as somethingness and somebodyness? Okay, this is episode 2, or podcast number 2. This is already, it's up and live on YouTube as well for the recording. And I'm going to have to go back and add the notes in. Thank you. This is really neat that I was able to do it live on YouTube. That means I don't have to take all the time to upload it. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back with another interview, maybe again with myself, or maybe with somebody else joining me. We will see as we continue to explore consciousness. See you next time. Please subscribe.